Delighted now to welcome Sue Snowbourne and Victoria Stockton from Coleg Gwent, who are going to give an example of how active experimentation has been used at Coleg Gwent. Sue is chair of the Coleg Cymru Network for Staff Development Managers and is the Learning Development Manager there, and Victoria is the role of Learning Mentor at the college. So the floor is yours.
Well, good morning, Borida. It's really a privilege to be on the same agenda as Jeff this morning, and also to be able to share with you what we've actually done with all the work that Jeff's done with us over the last sort of 6 or 7 years that he's been in our supported experiments. What's up there? Okay, in 2007-8, we started talking to Jeff about the sort of work that we needed him to come in and do. But the picture at the time, this is the college at the time, we had 5 main sites. And we had something like 1,600 staff, 1,000 of whom were teachers. And they were split geographically across Gwent. Oops. So what do? We wanted to talk to them about sort of what can we bring in for training? What sort of CPD can we give to teachers? So we called it the Jeff effect. And he came in 2008, first of all. And as you can see, over the next 2 years, he actually worked with 750 teachers, which was an enormous amount. We had between 100 and 200 people in each of those sessions, split into faculties. And we looked at evidence-based teaching as the sort of the basis of what we wanted people to pick up on and actually look at in terms of their methodologies. We'd ask people through appraisals, we'd ask teachers through all sorts of systems, what sort of training do you want? We'd ask managers, what sort of training should we put on? And this was what we came up with. Oops. We very much feel at the college that training is not just an activity, it's a process. And that's sort of borne out with the Joyce and Showers research, which I'm sure you're quite familiar with, which basically says, if all you do is a training activity, you might as well dig a hole and stick your money in it. You have to do something beyond the day to be able to make it work. You have to be able to support and coach and help people try and experiment with things. Ooh, quite fun, that. So what we did, after the first sort of time Jeff had been in, we actually took a very small pilot case study and looked at one particular campus, US campus, and we looked at, what we had at the time was called academic leaders, and the academic leader there led the process and the project in terms of theming each month and delivered CPD on each of those themes, and then worked with each of the teachers and the teaching teams to be able to embed the experiments that they were trying to do. So I'm going to hand over to Vicky now, who's going to tell you about what's happening now.
Okay, in 2009, a project improvement team was formed, led by the Vice Principal for Curriculum and Learning. They shaped a strategy to take teaching and learning forward. This model outlines the factors that brought together a streamlined approach to teaching and learning. Underpinning everything is staff development, effective staff development. And this created a need for a more robust mentoring system. So in 2010, 6 full-time cross-college learning mentor posts were created, and people were recruited from our teaching workforce to lead staff development for teachers. Overall, our objectives are to drive and support teaching and learning across the college. And these are some of the mechanisms that we use. Learning mentors are centrally managed to provide consistency and standardization across all of our campuses. Our Inspire sessions are 45 minutes long. They outline 1 or 2 outcomes, and then we challenge staff to take away these ideas and start to experiment in teams or as individuals. They're offered at different times during the day, so it could be a breakfast, a lunch, or a tea time meeting. Or we can go into common meeting hours and actually work with whole teams or schools. We've delivered 273 sessions in 12 months, and that is to 2,513 attendees. In the 12 months, we've also mentored 471 staff over 872 sessions. It was very important to us that it wasn't seen as a punitive or manager directed at poorer performers, those people graded at unsatisfactory or adequate. The support is open to all staff, and we actively encourage the sharing of best practice across teams and across campuses. So far, we've recorded about 180 observations, and this has enabled us to track the data for observation grades. This graph is broken up into our different campuses, but overall 60% of mentees have increased by at least 1 grade, and 30% have remained static. But of these, 77% are graded good or better. For our control group, our non-mentees, we've recorded about 200 observations so far. 30% have increased by 1 grade or more, and 43% have remained static. Again, 77% of these are graded good or better. Our next stage now is to start looking at Lerner Questionnaires, and we're going to track to see if this has become transferred into the classroom, if there's a difference to the learners. So I'm going to hand you back to Sue.
Okay. And I believe at this point I say, run VT. Just don't take our word for it. Look at what our teachers say.
Tutors are much more aware of what makes a good lesson. They plan better, they execute their lessons better, they resource their lessons better, and lessons are generally more fun and enjoyed by the students. And this is in great part due to the learning mentors in campus.
I think that the learning support mentors that we've now got within the college are vitally important. As teaching staff, we need to go somewhere to talk to people that will help us to devolve strategies, teaching methods that come up to a grade 1 level. Without these people, we will not be able to survive, because they have certainly filled a blank niche within the college that we didn't have any support from before.
What I've used the learning mentor for a lot is ideas for my learning strategies within the class.
Since the learning mentor has been part of the college, they've enabled us to use facilities in the classroom much more easily. We're now using the smart boards more regularly and using Quizdom. We've brought trainers in to give us the training that we need to be able to use the equipment to the correct standards, quality that's expected of us in the classroom environment.
We had an emails came through talking about all the different Inspire sessions, and the one that really appealed to me was gaining an excellent in an observed lesson, and I had an observed lesson the next day. So I went along and I found it absolutely fantastic. Some of the things that were said in there, too numerous to mention. I went home, I put everything down, and the next day, and literally overnight, I went from a grade 2 to a grade 1. I cannot thank them enough for what they did, and I was so excited at having that grade 1, and I've had another grade 1 since then as well. So everything the Inspire session told me to do, I did. I said, and it was extremely valuable.
That was produced by 2 of our learning mentors, Sarah and Kathy, so thank you for that. Okay. So where do we go next? What we've tried to do is bring in some system where we can recognise all this CPD and activity that people have actually done as teachers. And we call it the Olympic Challenge, and there's 3 levels to that, bronze, silver and gold, and it's where they can evidence the skills they're currently using. We're not asking them to do any more than they currently are. It's just a way of recognising the sort of achievements they're getting. And it could be in sort of sharing best practice, attending Inspire sessions, ILT training that they've had, observation gradings, that sort of thing in there. And it's been so popular that the managers are now saying to me, can you write one for us? And the business support staff are saying, can we have an Olympic challenge? So it's working across all sectors in there. So I think in the college, I mean, obviously we're going to continue doing supported experiments, but for us, the future is bright and the future is gold. So thank you for listening. And now it's time for lunch.